So, hello again, everyone. So, as you remember from yesterday, one of the suggestions by the last speaker, the most inspiring speaker, was about thing which is very important for hackathons. Do you remember what it was? Alcohol. So today you will be able to learn about how to do it in a very nice and engaging and interesting way. So today we have a speaker from app creator, Cocktail Flow app creator, an app which provides information and catalog about cocktails, how to make them, and so on. And Gergely Orosz, who is now also working in Skype, which is part of Microsoft, so will share his success story about starting on Windows Phone, moving to other platforms, and now Windows 8, and so on.
So, hi everyone, I'm Gergely, and yeah, once I get this working, yep. So today I'll be talking about some apps that we created and why we think they were successful. And before I start, let me just put a little context in the we. We have here myself and all the apps that we put together. It's been done with 3 other friends who are now co-founders in a company called Distinction, and I'll be talking a little bit more about that. So I kind of thought that on this hackathon, like they'll be forcing people to be in there that like they usually do, which I personally really hate, but that's clearly not the case. So, but it did remind me of, well, whoever is there, it's a bit of their loss. But a few years back, in one of the competitions, we were kind of forced into this thing. We were just listening to some speaker talk about these great things, and we were just itching to get out there and get something done. The reason being, this was the Imagine Cup a few years back, and we put together this system which it was environmental theme, and we were like, all right, we're going to do a watering solution, you know, save the world. Water everywhere from Africa to Asia to Europe. So we put together this kind of demo where we had these fields and it kind of all watered, and we had 3 different systems. Our one was working the best, and we kind of tried to prove that it worked. Our idea was that we speeded up time. We had sponges on the bottom, so whenever it rained, the water would go faster, and during the presentation in like 30 minutes, we would simulate a whole summer of rain. And we thought, like, this is going to be awesome. We're going to go there, we're going to go to Paris, and we're going to show the world that this is how it's done. So we went to Paris, beautiful city, and then we went to our hotel room, and then the thing didn't work. Like, there was something with the water in Paris, or something with the salt content, or in our hotel. It just wouldn't work. It was stuck there, and we had the next day we had a presentation to show this thing live, and it just didn't work. And then we were sitting on this presentation which you all had to attend, and we were just thinking, God, just get it over with. Like, let's just go back and go to the room. So presentation got over. We grabbed a few free snacks. University students at the time, we loved free snacks, and just sat there. Went back straight to our hotel room again. At 4 a.m. it still didn't work. It just, you have these things when you're just a deadlock, and at that point we just said, just screw it. We have a presentation tomorrow at 10 a.m. It's 4 a.m. We need to sleep some very little bit. We're going to hard code it. So that's what we did. We're going to pretend like it works, even though it doesn't. Even though we know it really does, but you know we'll just pretend. So we went onto the stage in front of 2,000 people in the Louvre. We presented it, and it worked like a charm. We weren't like, all right, so at this point, this is what should happen, and that's what happened. The system worked. We were able to demonstrate what we wanted to show the judges, what our idea was, and as a result, we got 3rd prize worldwide, and we learned a few things on this competition, which kind of applies to here. Number 1 is, do whatever it takes to get your demo working. You're going to be presenting whoever of you as competitors here in front of a judge tomorrow night, and you just need to get your point across. It doesn't matter if if it doesn't really connect to a database or if it's just fake data, as long as you can present, this is what it's going to do, and this is why we want you to invest into this product. And another thing that we've learned, I'm going to be talking about app development, but this is the whole same team we developed all the apps with, and the same kind of principles apply to why we're successful in the marketplace as to why we were successful on this competition or why we won a couple of hackathons as well. It's our team gets things done. Like if there's a deadline, we're going to deliver. It might not be the perfect application, but it's going to work there and it's going to wow people. And that's the other thing. It's going to be top quality. It's not going to have all the bells and whistles. Typically, our apps are not the most feature-rich, but the stuff it does really well. And then one more thing, we just love what we do. You can't really go coding and not even going to a competition if you're not enthusiastic about this. We've had a lot of teams go to competitions, just in for free trees, free beer, seeing the city. That's a very different. Same with app development. So before I jump in, let me just give you a few kind of context of what kind of apps we've developed. Our flagship app that most people know is Cocktail Flow. It's on all 4 platforms currently: Windows Phone, Android, iOS, and Windows 8. And we've had 1 million downloads. Now, it's a bit tricky. This is not sales, because it costs, I think, $2 or $3, $2.99, so we will be dollar millionaires. That's not exactly the case, but because we have a bunch of free downloads in here, and on Windows Phone we have a bunch of trials. But it's still a pretty impressive number for a pretty niche cocktail application. We have AppFlow, which is another app that's mainly on Windows Phone, now on iOS, 500,000 downloads. And we also have WeatherFlow, recently launched, a smaller 80,000 downloads, but Weather Apps is very saturated. And we have our flagship app in terms of downloads, an awesome flashlight app for Windows Phone. I'm not going to talk too much about that app, but we did learn a few lessons on how to achieve millions of downloads with a silly flashlight app, really. So today, I'd like to talk about 3 things, kind of 3 important things. First of all, just the fact that there are opportunities out there and how you, at this hackathon, can right now tap into those and how we're actually making the most out of those opportunities. I'll go do a quick run through of Cocktail Flow and show a few a few things that made it stand out of the competition, and most importantly, I'll give you some examples of how we think different and how we succeed as a result. World of opportunities, this is something that people are telling you all the time, oh, this tablets, mobiles, this is great opportunities, that's great, but let me just give you some specific examples on where we think is a huge opportunity. First one is, right now you can, from this room, from Lithuania, from Hungary, our team is from Hungary, you can deploy to the world, you can achieve great successes. So you can build an app in Budapest, Vilnius, London, doesn't matter, deploy it, and it can be the number 3 downloaded app in Russia. That's what happened to one of our apps, actually. Number 2 in Mexico. I don't even know they use those stuff there. In Italy, yeah, sure, in the US it's a bit tougher market, but it's pretty crazy. Like, a bunch of people are using our apps in China, and beats me, but it's just really cool, and suddenly the other part of this, you're now competing with everyone. You're competing with those guys in Silicon Valley who received a $2 million funding, and a lot of times we're beating them. That feels great. The other one is Windows Phone 8. Now, I love this slide. He's Joe Belfleur, Senior Vice President at Microsoft. Like the way it goes, there's God, there used to be Bill Gates, but as we all know, now it's Steve Ballmer. Then he's kind of somewhere kind of in the middle. So this is the guy, whenever it's Windows Phone, he stands out on the stage and he says like, yes, it's here, it's arrived, be excited, this is going to be a success. So that's him telling us that Windows Phone 7 is going to be a success, which frankly it wasn't as big as we expected. And now, oh, what's going on? Yeah, and now this is him a month ago. He's telling us that Windows Phone 8 is going to be a success. Now, it kind of looks the same. If you look closely, he put his heart on his hand. To me, that kind of proves that it will be a success. But jokes aside, the difference is, at Windows Phone, what they forgot to tell us that, oh yeah, we're releasing Windows Phone, but this is just kind of, we're not taking this seriously. We're not going to put any money in it. We're not even going to promote it. Windows Phone has been promoted more than Nokia by Microsoft. Right now, they're pouring all the money they have. They're talking with all the carriers. We're now seeing pretty good deals in terms of carriers as well. So it's kind of bound to success because now they poured the cash on it. The other one was Windows 8. It's been out. It's got a bunch of downloads, and a lot of people are still skeptic, like Microsoft and tablets, and is it a bit too modern? Are people going to like it? But if we think back, I really like this picture. This is when Windows Vista launched. Anyone remember Windows Vista? Like, awesome operating system. Yeah, let's not even talk about it. I work at Skype, which is part of Microsoft. We like to pretend we're not part of Microsoft. So whenever it's things like this, like, who are these guys who did it? So this is the moment when they announced Windows Vista, and this is like, the slogan was like, the wow starts now. Right there, that's the executive group, like that's the highest guys in Microsoft. You can just kind of see them, they're all like, fuck, what are we gonna do now? Windows Vista was a huge failure, such a big failure, it still sold 100 million units. They could have released a blue screen and it still would have sold 50 million units just because Microsoft has all of its new operating systems shipped with the latest version. Now, people didn't buy Windows Vista because they wanted to, they bought it because that was on all of the stores. Walk past any computer store, you'll see that with Windows 8. And Vista wasn't innovative, it was slow, it had a bunch of problems, it still sold 100 million units. Just imagine if Windows 8 will be a failure and only sells 100 million units. That's more than iPads and Androids out there instantly. And of course, much less apps in the store currently. There's also opportunities on other platforms. You just need to keep your eyes open. Samsung, Bada, maybe RIM will bounce back. There's a few things there, but the important thing is that I think is just you need to look at the emerging platforms, stuff that's going to grow, and go there. That's what we did. So now I'll just kind of show you Cocktail Flow for the. Yeah, I think I have a video somewhere. Yeah. So for those of you who've not seen this app, let me just give you a quick video presentation.
I've been around the world, seen a lot of things as the earth has twirled. Been amazed and excited, collecting the clues when I was running, trying to fill my own shoes. And now I'm right here, and everything's good, and all the little pieces fit just like they all should. Yeah, life's been going fine, I'd even say it was good. Today I wouldn't change a thing if I could. Hey, 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 I'm going up, straight up to the top, walking out, holding my head up high. Hey, 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 moving on to a brand new place, and now it's here at the blink of an eye. Hey, 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 can't stop me now, I'm moving fast, going everywhere I wanted to be. Hey, 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 and now I'm here today with me for me. Yeah, I was born to be free.
This was the Windows Phone version of the app. It's, as I said, out on different platforms. And again, it's got a bunch of downloads. A lot of people are envious of our success, especially the other cocktail app makers who didn't make it that far. But whenever we talk about Cocktail Flow, everyone asks us, all right, so in general, whenever you go to pitch, and whenever you come up with something, it's first always the idea. And so many people are thinking, so many entrepreneurs, so many. That's how I started out as a when we were building our first app. I was thinking, if only I had that idea, if only I had that killer idea, I could just build it. And once you have the idea, that's what I was thinking. Once I have the idea, it's gonna just work. Like that's about it. And I used to think like, yeah, there's some better ideas and some worse ideas. Like if you have this awesome idea, like Facebook had or anything like that, just outweighs all the other ideas. But it's really not the case. What we've learned is it's much more about the team than the idea. Cocktail Flow, such a simple idea. Make a cocktail app, dozen out there. And it's how we execute it and really the kind of team behind it. And also, we got the chance to go to Silicon Valley at some point and talk with a bunch of investors after this Imagine Cup thing. And they said the same thing. They said, yeah, idea, yeah, it's important, probably like 2% in when we decide to invest in companies or when we believe they're going to succeed. Like 70% is the team. So just don't overrate the idea. And I'll I'll show you how in some of our apps we have probably the most unoriginal ideas out there, including the Cocktail one. So the killer feature that when people look at Cocktail Flow is, wow, looks so slick, such nice design. So let me tell you about a little bit of how we did this design. Very simple principles. We said, all right, we just want to be different, and we want to be beautiful, and we want to be fresh. Well, I guess everyone wants to build an app like that. But how are we going to be fresh? We used a bunch of animations to feel fresh. A lot of apps don't do it these days. And of course, above all, we want it to be people like, wow, so cool. I'm going to show it to my grandma. Just some ideas quickly on how to build a beautiful design. Just add some images. Like, you know, this is what we want to show people. We added in a few images and then added in some more. You just need to design or find the right balance and just kind of make your app feel like it's an experience and not just a bunch of text. Again, in different platforms, most of the app developers will just use the built-in controls. They'll see like, oh, I want to have the iOS look and feel. I want to have the Windows Phone look and feel. Like, you know, try not to be different because people are not going to know that this is a button. A lot of people think like this. But if you brand, you'll just feel different. Most Windows Phone developers would have stopped at customizing a button to how we did on the left. We just went a step further, just added a few images, added some kind of button. You won't see these kind of buttons in any other application. A lot of app developers and a lot of Microsoft and any other platform evangelists tell you like, no, don't do it there. They won't be able. They're not going to know if they can click it. Yeah, they do. They're not stupid, but it just gives you competitive advantage. Animations is one of the killer things in our app. So after people don't love our apps because, ooh, it looks so cool on a picture. No, they love it because it feels so cool. Like, oh, wow, such a nice animation. So let me just show you some animations that we did. This is particularly the cocktail page animation. This is the original animation we wanted to add into the cocktail page. So when you went in, it would kind of grow from out there. And as the cocktail slid in, this was our implementation number 1. Now, the reason the application today isn't what this is, we just had some performance issues. Like before we launched our Windows Phone, we actually got to test it on a phone and it was really slow. We had to calculate like widths and heights, so we just kind of changed it up. We were like, all right, let's just make it faster, but have it feel the same. And now this is the current animation in the application. It kind of feels pretty nice. One thing people do compliment about Cocktail Flow, and this kind of has to do with the Windows Phone version, most apps in Windows Phone, there's this whole Metro guidelines. Most applications doesn't have the feeling of depth like that. It just feels like a flat thing. Cocktail Flow is probably one of the first apps that feels that it does have depth. But in general, you're going to have to work a lot on your animation. That's what's going to make your app feel different. I'll show you some more videos later on this. Content, just really quickly, it's something most people kind of forget about. You have this killer app, beautiful design. If you don't put content behind it, it's going to be shallow. We've seen those apps like, oh, it's so cool, wow. Right, that's it. Okay, never use it again. So just try to put something behind it. We put a lot of thought and effort and put a bunch of recipes in there so people would actually use it. And then marketing. Especially on iOS, there's so many cool apps, there's so many talented teams putting out great apps, and they get nowhere. Even with Cocktail Flow, we're struggling on iOS, despite the fact that we're super popular on other platforms. And here are a few things that we did with marketing with Cocktail Flow on how we got to be #1 cocktail apps on Windows Phone. We started marketing before releasing the app, and that's something you really need to do. You really need to start thinking about putting together screenshots, images, trying to build up relations with the press. We sent out screenshots to like some sites saying, oh, we're building this app, and some people got interested, not many, but a few did, and they covered us on day 1. All right, so whenever you build an application, I believe most of you are familiar with TechCrunch is the biggest kind of online startup covering thing. It's kind of like this thing, like every single American company who get this big investment, they get covered there. Facebook gets covered twice a day there, Google once a day because they're not that cool, Apple 3 times a day. But there are lots of similar size ideas. This is the biggest one. So when you launch, you want to be featured there. You're like hoping, yes, please feature me there. But how do you get there? Now, we got featured on TechCrunch, not with Cocktail Flow, but with AppFlow. And the way you go about this is really simple, is again, just think about your marketing beforehand and make it easy for them to feature you. Most notably, put together video. Like those people they're working at TechCrunch, they're getting like hundreds of applications each day, like everyone wants to be featured in TechCrunch. Now, they're not going to spend too much time, unless you're a big name, unless you're backed by Sequoia Capital or you know, like you have a Facebook founder on your board, which means you automatically get featured. It's going to be really, really difficult for a company in Hungary, which we were, or a company in Lithuania to get featured there. It almost takes a miracle, but you can help this miracle by sending them a video and a nice demonstration and summarizing in 45 cool seconds what your app is about. And this is the video we sent to them that got featured us there. As simple as that. That video, it took a week to make, 45 seconds, but it got us there. So many people spend a week afterwards or months afterwards trying to get into these places, and you just need to think ahead, and you really need to be able to summarize what you do in really short and sweet. We didn't go into all the features of the application in this video, but it hit the spot. It got the people interested. And another thing about these trailer videos or feature videos, we thought, oh, we're going to make this video, it's going to be great, upload it to YouTube, people are going to watch it, they're going to download it, it's going to be a great promotion. It's not the way it works. The people who watch it are usually the journalists, so it's really you're making it for them. We have like 10,000 views on this video, but I don't know, like 300,000 downloads I've set on those iPhones. And then you can just get creative. After you've launched, stuff isn't going that well, just do something. Like in Cocktail Flow, we knew a lot of Microsoft people were using our cocktails, so we released a package for them with like cocktails like Sexplorer, like with the IE logo, Power Pint, X-Rocks. And people loved it. They were like, haha, that's funny, and they showed their friends. It was just a way for us to get kind of promotion and people to recommend this. With your apps, you can just get creative as well. It helps. Another thing, that's just kind of something that's, it comes natural for us, but for some people it's not that natural. It's performance and quality. When you launch your app, like you just don't want to have any of those issues. Because if it's going to be slow loading or it's going to lag, like people are not going to like it. And there's no excuse for that these days. These platforms are fast, and even if people are not going to use it, simple as that. So just go for top quality. And it's so easy to say, harder to do, but we do this everywhere, in our demos, in our presentations. Just cut features, but work on it, make sure they're going to feel awesome. Here's an example of somewhere where we did just the presentation tuning. This is WeatherFlow, and in this app, we just wanted to make sure you could kind of flip between these kind of two graphical images, which is simple enough. Now, implementing that, this flipping actually works really smooth is a bit harder. So, yeah, there's some kind of other animations going on there. But as you're flipping, what we wanted to do is as you're flipping it, the animations go both on the top and the bottom, even if you're flipping on the other way around, so you can see the sun is still animating. It just feels the way it should. It took, especially on Windows Phone, it was a nightmare to implement. We spent like 3 days because it was just lagging, slow. At some point, we almost gave up. We're like, who cares? Like, you can just stop the animation until you're flipping. But it just wouldn't have stood out at all. So just don't compromise. And then we ported Cocktail Flow to other platforms, Android, App Store, and Windows 8. I'll just show you some images on what we changed a little bit on. We kind of always tailored it to the look of the OS. Windows Phone, nice, clean, Metro, a little bit of graphics. Android, this is the start screen of the app. Again, we just tailored it to kind of the whole Android kind of icon-like experience. And I think we also had to incorporate, there's no back button, but that's not here. On iOS, that was the richest version of all, the kind of most graphically rich. And this was also our launch order. First we launched on Windows Phone, then we went to Android to kind of test the waters of like, how is it gonna work when it's free? And then we like gave it our best shot on iPhone. We also have a tablet version. This is the Android tablet version, and a Windows 8 tablet version. Which is, again, you can see it's very different. We're just it's the same functionality, but we're adapting it to the current OS. It's going to make the most return. The Cocktail page, again, on Windows Phone, you've seen this. On Android, I'm sorry, this is just lagging behind. Yep. Yeah, so on Windows Phone, on Android, and on iPhone, as you can see, again, pardon? Yeah. Yeah. It's different on each platform. So on Windows Phone, we're selling it for, I think, $299. On Android and iPhone, it's free, but you can buy in-app purchases. So that's how we make money. And the tablet version is also sold. So again, on iOS, it's much richer, because that's what iOS people love. They love to like feel physically, whereas on Windows Phone, the idea is that it's just not that physical. And again, on Android, our Cocktail page is much richer than on Windows Phone. Just adapting and making sure we're doing the best on each platform that works there. So yeah, this is all I wanted to say about kind of Cocktail Flow. A little bit of design, just think about content, marketing, super important. Build high quality stuff and then port it. So all the stuff, all the systems you can imagine if you have the energy, and just kind of don't port it mindlessly, just port it being a bit smart. And now probably for the most important part of what I like to talk about is how to think differently and succeed. Because a lot of developers, they just all follow the same pattern. You see, everyone, there was a time when everyone just released iOS apps because that was the place you could make money, and that was cool. And all the iOS apps kind of look the same with the rounded corners. And then someone realized you can have HD graphics. Now they're all HD. It's hard to stand out. So I'll just give you a few examples of how we stand out and what helped us. Number one is to think big. Now, let me put this in context. When we built an application for Windows Phone, we had this new platform called Windows Phone, which was, we got the first device, and the experience kind of sucked in terms, like it was cool and fresh, but it was a bit slow and sluggish, and we're like, all right, let's build something here, and we're like, all right, we want to be the #1 Windows Phone application. But then we started building it, and we did realize we're going to have some performance issues, but at the time, we kind of looked at all the other iOS and Android apps, and we said, hang on, like, we shouldn't be aiming to be the best cocktail app on Windows Phone, because that's not going to take us too far. Like, people are just going to say, like, oh, yeah, that's cool, but I've got a better one on iOS. So we're like, all right, let's be a bit bold here, but let's build the best cocktail app in the world in some way. We wanted to have a cocktail app that we could say, like, all right, here's this cocktail app. It doesn't matter what it runs on here. Check it out. And you'll be like, wow. Can I get it on can I get that on iPhone? And we'll be like, well, not yet, but it's coming there. And this is what we wanted, and this is the main reason Cocktail Flow is so successful. It was the first application not developed by Microsoft that was better than on any other platform. And Microsoft, they started promoting it for us because Windows Phone was off to a really rough start. People weren't buying it, and people weren't interested in it, and it was a worse experience to iPhone. And then Microsoft went like, hey, have you seen Cocktail Flow? And they were like, wow, that's really cool. Is it on iOS? Nope, Windows Phone only. Can I sell you one? But that's the point. You need to be the best in the world, or at least you need to try to be the best in the world. Second is, don't let money be your main motivator. When I mean money, like selling of apps, people ask us like, oh, we're super successful, how much money have you made? I'm not counting exactly. We're like every month we're getting a pretty nice check, but it probably wouldn't cover. Like, we would make more money working as mobile developers at companies. In fact, definitely. But that's not our main motivator. Well, not saying money is important, but we're not doing it to be rich from the app sales. We're doing it because we love it. We're doing it to get a good portfolio. Sometimes we're doing it for investment as well, but never. The problem is, if we want to make bank on selling like these millions of an app, and you've heard the Angry Birds story, you're going to be disappointed, and after a while, you're going to give up. I've talked with a lot of mobile app developers, and they said, oh yeah, I've released this app, but it never made enough money. I went back to my day job. That's the wrong mentality. Like, don't assume you're going to be rich from this application. There's only a few developers that do that. But you might get rich from getting an investment later on. So, next point is learn from others and learn from other platforms. Let me tell you a story. After we released Cocktail Flow, we had this huge success, and then we released App Flow, and it was all right. And then we're like, all right, time to come up with something new. Let's do something else that is so awesome, so we can prove to the world that, and to ourselves that, yeah, we can still do really cool things on all kinds of platforms. And then we started researching. We had no idea. We were like, all right, we don't know what we're going to do, but it should be awesome, and it should sell well, or like get a bunch of downloads. Right, so what's it going to be? So we started looking at all the app catalogs, iOS, Android, so many sites, and we wanted to see a pattern, like what is the app that we can kind of build that should be successful, probably. So we kind of identified weather, like, yeah, weather, that's, like everyone's using weather app. You probably have one or two weather apps on your phone, even on your BlackBerry, everywhere. And we're like, all right, here's the idea. Let's build a weather app. Awesome. So now what? We want it to be successful. So if we didn't do the research, we would have done what we're good at, like, all right, killer design, put a lot of functionality, people are going to love it, right? Well, before we started on this, we just did a little research, like, all right, let's see, what are the top apps on iOS? What are the top apps on Android? We identified them. Surprising enough, they weren't the ones that had the most functionality. Those top apps on each platform, like whatever company or branding it is, they were the ones that were really simple. All they told you is, oh, hey, what's the weather like today? Oh, is it going to rain tomorrow? And they were like selling, they had tons of downloads and app purchases. We're like, okay, that's interesting. And then we kind of looked at why is this the case? Turns out that the complex applications, they had bad ratings because people were expecting a lot from them. And at some point, they got pissed off, like, oh, the wind, you said it would be windy, but it wasn't windy today. The wind speed was a few degrees off. Like, okay, so all right, lesson learned. Let's not build something that's complex because people aren't interested in general. Most people just want something simple. Then we looked at a historical trend. How do those apps stay on top? How long are they number one? And more importantly, why do apps suddenly disappear from top of the charts? And it turns out a lot of developers, they became number one on the App Store, like probably tons of money, and then they got a bit ambitious. They put out an update. They put in new features. They put in a new design. Users didn't like that. Boom, down to the bottom. So now we have two lessons learned. If we want to build a successful weather app based on iOS and Android, which is a good 100 million people, so probably won't be too wrong, make it simple, make it beautiful, and don't try to be ambitious. If you get successful, just leave it. People won't be interested in more updates. You're going to be going down. So that's how we put WeatherFlow together. Simple, beautiful, to the point, and if it comes to updates, we're thinking 3 times about whether we're pushing that update out. And it's doing pretty good sales on Windows Phone. On Android, it's doing especially good sales. Unfortunately, for one sales, we're having like 5 pirate copies, but that's another question. Just a thought about kind of localizing, and especially now that we're in Lithuania, it's pretty obvious for most people, for most English developers. Your application will be used by more non-English speakers than English speakers. So just translating it makes so much sense. On Flashlight 7, I told you we have 2 million downloads. Most of them came from Russia, Italy, and Mexico, surprisingly, because it's translated to a bunch of different languages. It's translated to 21 different languages. It's on iOS and Android, a lot of people take advantage of this, but you can't think about it. So your aim should be to be the number one in the US. That will get you investment or probably most income. But it's still pretty. I would rather trade being number 50 in the US to be number 2 in Russia or number 3 in China. Just something to think about. I've told you a lot about our success stories, all these apps. Yeah, we did it. Like, more or less success. Like, we're really proud of this. But let me tell you about a story that we weren't successful, or we never know if we would have been successful, probably not. We had this project, it was called Night Kick. We worked on this for a good like 5 months internally. We did this for an investment, to get investment, to get like I don't know, like up to like $500,000 to $2 million of investment. The idea was, this was before Google Plus came in. We're like, whenever you go out to party, you have a bunch of photos, but you never put them on Facebook because your mom's there. So we're like, all right, let's put together a network where it's going to be a social network like Path. You can take photos of people, you tag them, and it's going to be safe, and you're all going to enjoy it. It's just going to be your friends, and it's going to be cool, and we're going to have bars, and we're going to have this, and we're going to have that. And we put it together. It was a really slick application. We developed it for iOS and Android, again, in about 5 months. Put a lot of effort into it, showed it off to a lot of potential investors. They were more or less interested. And then Google Plus came out, and they had circles, which was exactly our main killer point. And then we kind of stopped for a little bit. We were like, hang on, that's not great. The investors started asking questions as well, and we also started asking questions to ourselves. But after about 2 months, Google Plus was out, and it had trouble taking off. And then we realized, you know what, this whole social thing, it's not really for us. It's so difficult. We just realized that if we ever launched this product, we would be tied for it. We would have to support it for so long, even if it wasn't that successful. If we had 100,000 users, we'd need to support them for a long time. We just said, screw it, throw it out. We never launched, and I think it's a good thing that we didn't. But we kept the experience and the expertise. We threw out the app. So for us, that was, and we just built something else. We built WeatherFlow, we built Cocktail Flow for Windows 8, so just moved on. And my final advice, which, I mean, I think it might be a bit more common in the future, but launch on Windows Phone, or nowadays more like Windows 8 and Windows Phone first. This is something mainstream developers will say, like, you're an idiot, like, yeah, launch on iPhone. That's what everyone does. Exactly, that's what everyone does. So what if you do it the other way around? So let me show you a graph about our applications. We always launched on Windows Phone. So here's our launch date. Earlier we launched on Windows Phone, then on Android, on iPhone, and now on Windows 8. The size of the bubble is how much money we've made to date off them. So on Windows Phone, we made about the same money as on iOS. In fact, today, like every day, we're making about the same money on Windows Phone as on iOS, despite us getting more free downloads on iOS. Android is not making that much money. It's all right, but people don't like to pay up there. On Windows 8, we've not made any money yet because we're a free app, but we're having huge downloads. In 2 months, we've had almost as many downloads on Windows 8 as we had on iPhone alone. So the kind of growth potential that we're seeing is that Windows 8 is a huge opportunity there. And another reason, just going back to this one, to launch on Windows 8, all right, you launch it here, you have a small market, like, it's easier to stand out, and if you stand out, that's great. You can kind of move on to their platforms. Hopefully, you'll get some growth. The other thing is Windows 8 has a very different look and feel to it, and so does Windows Phone. It has this whole kind of Metro thing. So if you launch on iPhone and then you kind of port it over to Windows Phone, a lot of people just have the same old boring app. Like, like it has the same rounded corners, and Windows Phone users will be like, oh, screw this, I don't like this. If you do it the other way around, which we did with WeatherFlow, you have an app that feels fresh on Windows Phone. Oh, really cool, nice animations, it feels slick, this whole new modern thing. Then you launch it on other platforms, keeping the design. We launched WeatherFlow on Android, and people were like, oh, wow, so fresh. Oh, this feels different. It feels like ice cream sandwich. Like, oh, well, yeah, ice cream sandwich is kind of a rip-off of Metro, but the idea being, if you want to bring something new to iPhone, it's the easiest thing you can do is port a Windows Phone app. So this is the path we're doing and the path we believe in, especially with Windows 8. There are like 10,000 apps on the store there, and already I don't know how many devices they've sold, but we're seeing Cocktail Flow go up the roof. In 2 months, we've had more downloads on Windows 8 than on Windows Phone, and I'm predicting that in 6 months, we'll have more downloads on Windows 8 than everything else. It's a huge opportunity. And then from there on, it's so much easier to port. What's more, now if you develop for Windows 8 or Windows Phone, same code, share it, port it immediately. So kind of these are just a summary of how, there's a few examples of how to do things differently, but it really, just take whatever you can. So today, I'll just kind of wrap it up. I've talked about how there's a bunch of opportunities out there. You just need to grab them and know them. I talked a little bit about Cocktail Flow, which is just an example application, just giving you some ideas how to be different, even with a dull idea. It's not the idea, it's how you implement it. And just a few thoughts, just try thinking differently. But one thing that I think our real secret of success really is our team. So if you don't have a good team, you could go through all the PowerPoints and read all the books on success. It's not going to work. Just get a good team around you. Be bold. You're young. Do things differently. Do things that everyone else. It might work. It might not. We've had a lot of success. We've had some failures or some stuff when we said this isn't working out and just moved on. But the important thing is we love what we do, and that's why we're doing it, and that's why we're going to keep on trying to create new things. So I think just take that, go by there and kick some ass. Thank you. The core team is 4 people, but on the company I think there's up to 8 or 9 people to start up distinction.
All apps?
All the apps have shown the 4 of us have worked. Yep.
I have a question about your freemium model. So
Yep.
how do you make the right choice between having enough for free, but also leaving enough of attractive, to be as
So the question was this whole freemium, how to decide where to draw the line, free versus paid. Yeah, that's a really tough question. As always, you need to kind of strike a balance. Our ideas with Cocktail Flow, again, a bit unconventional. We're saying, all right, we're going to give you a lot of stuff for free because we want people. We're giving people. We have these 2 ideas, like either let's give a few cocktails and then when people want some, different ones, or some. Let's say we give away Cuba Libre, but we don't give away mojito. You'll have to pay for mojito. But we're like, screw it. We want people to take our free app and enjoy it, and we want people to spread it to say, hey, here's a really cool app, check it out. And then the hardcore users who want some more exotic cocktails, like I don't know, sex on the not the pool, but the ceiling, whatever. Then they can go and buy it. Because the way we see it, it's more important to get to bigger people. And the same reason we're not putting ads on our apps. We don't want people to get annoyed. We want people to be like, this is such a cool app. I love it. I've not paid for it. Oh, there's an option you can buy free stuff. Maybe not for me. Maybe next time. We want to kind of present it in a way that it's a premium thing. And after a while, if you use it for a while and you're into it, you might just be like, you know what? I really love this app. It's been so good to me. I'll just buy this. That's how we think about it. Yep, so I'll just wrap it up. I'll be around, so just grab me anytime if you want to talk about any of these apps or anything else. Thank you.